Should the Sony M9 II Full Array 96 Zone gaming monitor be on your radar? Or should you stay away from this technology when we already have a wide variety of monitors available to us? From true mini LED to the amazing OLED technology that has improved year on year. Today I showcase my findings and present to you my review of the Sony M9 II Full Array 96 Zone 4K 160Hz gaming monitor. Does the HDR performance really shine on your media or gaming content? I'll showcase a reflection test to show you how matte this monitor really is versus a wOLED. Of course, the unboxing, a quick view of the monitor menu, that UFO test, the brightness test, among other issues that's really annoying, like the vignetting, blotchy local dimming haloing, or blooming, and one of the slowest zone transfers I have ever seen on a monitor. I'll show you that today. And if you were wondering how bright this monitor gets, between the Sony M10S wOLED 480Hz gaming monitor versus the Sony M9 II, and that brightness difference. Here with a model number SDM-27U9M2, this full array gaming monitor has 96 zones with that new black body design, and it is an improvement over the prior model. Here we have a 4K monitor at 160Hz. With Sony's touted ultra-fast 1 millisecond response time, VISA certified display HDR600, intense colors with 95% of the DCI-P3 color coverage, perfect for your PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro, HDMI 2.1 support, a low profile stand with that 360Hz movement, and that one DisplayPort 2.1 with a rating of UHBR10 and 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, and an audio out with a USB upstream and 2 downstream. Now I won't be able to test the 2.1 port as I don't have a graphics card that supports that, but it is the lowest tier. Is this a marketing gimmick, or is it just better to have it than not? You decide. As you can see with this unboxing, Sony went with a generic cardboard box. Very dirty looking, but that's not why we buy the monitor. We buy it for its performance. But as you'll see, maybe that Sony INZONE box gives us a sneak peek of the performance of this display. Oh my! Everything sits secure, and Sony even included a piece of cardboard to protect the screen. You can see here the bottom power button and that controller nub where you control the monitor menu. Here we have 2 USB downstream ports, 1 USB upstream, 2 HDMI 2.1, 1 DisplayPort 2.1, the AC connection, and an update USB port. And this is where the magic happens. That 360-degree movement is made possible by the bottom of the stand. It rotates flawlessly, super smooth, and I hope many more manufacturers actually start using this kind of design. Here I'm showcasing some Call of Duty Black Ops 6 gameplay. This is a very bright and colorful monitor, and if you're coming from a startup monitor that has a matte screen, this will satisfy your needs, as again, this is a very bright monitor. It really does have some pretty cool features. But guys, I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I'm gonna be showcasing the positives and the negatives. And unfortunately, the negatives outweigh everything. This is one of the few monitors that I've ever tested that has really let me down. And if you're coming from a wOLED or QD OLED panel, you may want to stay away from this monitor. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here with Pizza Tower, you can see how bright this monitor gets. It's crazy bright. Every single game I've shown on it, it's very bright and very colorful. That's a positive. But look at this vignetting. I've seen this on all corners, on all games, of all content. It's very distracting. This is something that wOLEDs also have. But in the case of the PG27AQDP, you can disable the outer local dimming of a monitor, the AI protections. I personally do that, and I get a perfect screen. The Xiaomi G Pro doesn't even have this. Now for a little bit of good, as everything is not lost. The HDR performance on this monitor is very good. With a rating of HDR600, you can see here by the screens, it gets very bright and very deep with a ton of shadow detail. And I would say that's a good and bad thing, because the shadow detail is there because the mini LED zones are very wide. They're big blotches. Don't let that 96 zone number fool you. Sure, there's 96, 12 horizontal and 8 vertical. Instead of counting 1, you're gonna have to count 4. For every 1 zone, the surrounding squares of 4 light up. You'll easily be able to see what I'm talking about here. That's why I'm saying the shadow detail is very good, but the picture is not so deep, say compared to the Xiaomi or any OLED. Even the Samsung Odyssey G7 old school beats this in immersion and actually turning off, because you're gonna see this monitor zones don't actually turn off. And because this monitor is so bright with those blotches of zones, even when you have a full screen picture lit up like you're seeing here, look how I'm scrolling the mouse. That gray is lighting up. It's blotches. Look here with this dark classroom image. That is so annoying. Even if you go to the Amazon reviews, many people are complaining of this, and they're like, it's okay. I guess it's buyer remorse, because they bought it, they can't return it, so they're stuck with it. This is disgusting. And when you compare it to another mini LED, this is drastic the others are not. And this pops up on a lot of content, on a lot of games, browsing the web, reading. It's very annoying. Sure, you can minimize it by lowering the local dimming, but then what's the point? This monitor features 96 zones, and the point is to have them activated. And you want that brightness power, because $799 is too much money for this monitor. So if you're going to turn off any of those features, might as well go and get something else. And I guarantee you can find better, as at $699 you can find the ASUS QD OLED 27-inch monitor, among the MSI, or Mini LED with the Curry GN10, or the Xiaomi. Those pictures, which are sub $300 monitors with Mini LED technology, have much more impact, get deeper, a lot more funner with less problems. Here's this special tidbit I promised you. Now, one of my friends in Korea actually have both of these monitors, and they told me if you lower the M9 II to say 70%, that's the 100% brightness on the M10S. So that's what I'm doing here, so I can show you. The M9 II gets very, very bright, but it's very sloppy. While you know that crystal clear OLED picture, 480Hz, that M10S looks pretty nice. But if you don't care for brightness, the M10S is a superior picture. And before we get into the brightness and UFO tests, let's quickly take a look at the monitor menu. Here they have 4 HDR picture modes. When you connect the console, it would select game mode, as if you have a PS5 or PS5 Pro, Sony is touting this monitor is meant for it. Here with Game Assist, you have all the gamer options. Black equalizer is turned off in HDR. If you need that option, you'll have to use it in SDR. Here you have the auto input switch and the section for your inputs, the control for the audio volume. Now, while this monitor has an improved speaker setup versus the prior, I have tried 2 monitors and they both sound very muffled, especially when you get to the bass frequencies. You can tell the speakers don't have the power, and it clips and sounds muffled. It sounds bad. I gotta reduce it to like 70% just to get the sound to sound decent. So that's a no-go. Here's the personalize, the OSD menu, and others for the USB software update, software version, or a factory reset. Look at my background. I have a Haunted Mansion background. Look at that blooming around the cursor. This will happen every single time if you have a dark background. But on a positive note, it does pass the Street Fighter Alpha 3 ABL test that I always do on many monitors. Again, it's very bright, very colorful. No issues whatsoever. Let's get into some reflections so I can explain the matte coating here. On the left, we have the wOLED PG27AQDP, which many know has a Vaseline-ish, hazy, not glossy kind of a look. I mean, I like it. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. And when you see these monitors side by side, I would say it's very clear versus the trash screen on this Sony. Check this out. Here we have the Sony M9 II. Look at the clarity improvement on the ASUS. Try to read that W8 on the back. You can't. It's blurry, while on the ASUS, it's clearly readable. Here you can see side by side. But it looks to me that the Sony M9 II has a matte screen, but it's trying to, I don't know, glossy it-ish or smooth it out. I don't know what they're doing. The ASUS looks clear versus the Sony M9 II. Here with the thick body and close-up and the thinness of the wOLED, it's night and day in clarity. Now for the bad news. This monitor is a blurry mess. This is the worst monitor I've tested this year in terms of clarity, and that goes with the matte screen they're using here with that IPS technology at 160Hz. Maybe I'm used to OLED, but I just tested the Curry GN10, the Xiaomi G Pro, and those technically are inferior to this monitor. I mean, they're sub $300, and I would no doubt prefer those monitors over this one, with the GN10 pulling ahead at 240Hz. I don't know, it's just grown on me. I have no idea what Sony's doing here. Sure, they have the input selection. Sure, they have the connections. I mean, that's what's going to get you perfect for your consoles. But at 240Hz on the Curry, it looks miles better versus this. This might be an issue with a software update. Maybe it needs it. But hey, that's Sony's problem. I'm not here to wait for software updates. When we spend $799, it should come ready to go. And that's why I'm showing you this. If you're coming from a cheaper monitor and you upgrade to this, you might like this. But if you're coming from a wOLED and want that brightness power, this is a blurry monitor. Unfortunately, with some more bad news, guys. Here with the raised ISO, I have counted 96 local dimming zones. Here's some more proof of that local dimming mess. While I'm showing you here the SDR and HDR performance on the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100% windows, look at that square in the middle. It'll get bigger as we go, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm showing you from the front and from the side so you can easily see. There's no nonsense going on. This is the performance of the monitor, and it's really bad. Look at the square in the middle. Top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. There's like other little boxes next to it. Maybe they're doing that to even out the picture, or the gradation is easier from light to black. But it doesn't even turn black at all in the first place. Look at the left and right sides. Those should be inky black. They're not. The Samsung Odyssey G7, the old school OG, gets completely black, while the G65B and D do not. As we get brighter, you can see what I'm talking about. This is a brightness monster. It gets very bright. Look at the HDR performance. For so little zones, that's crazy. For whatever reason, I have seen the SDR performance on Artings, and I even tested the prior model here on the channel. It seems that this monitor is less bright in SDR mode than the prior model. While HDR performance is crazy, it's above the HDR 600 compliance. So you're going to get a really good shadow detailed HDR picture, but it's not going to be deep like any other mini LED or wOLED monitor. So hit that like button so more people can see this video to help them make that awesome buying decision. And if you don't mind, consider subscribing if you want more videos like this, telling you the truth so you don't waste your hard-earned money. Now this is a very impactful image. It's very bright. This will show you the brightness power. Here I have it with the ASUS PG27AQDP, because at least at a 27-inch size, that to me is the brightest wOLED I have ever tested. So this is a good compare, so you can see the differences. If I zoom in and slow it down, you can see that inky black pixel perfect OLED versus this 96-zoned IPS monitor. There is no way this monitor can compete with OLED. So from it being very blurry, a messed up blotchy HDR picture with the brightness zones, or the 96 zones, and a normal black background that OLED easily wins, I'm just showing you here. This monitor looks a tad washed out. Now this is me zooming in. From afar you're not going to see that. It's so bright for you to not know what black is. But if we zoom in and look at the details, OLED is king. Easily, I would only want to play on the ASUS. Here playing Marvel vs. Capcom, here detailing that vignetting again. Here with a close-up, it is annoying. I've never seen a monitor transition so slow. I don't know what else to say. When the monitor is changing scenes, look how slow the dimming zones move and transition from on to off. That is so distracting, so annoying. Remember, this is a 4K 160Hz native monitor. So HDR, VRR, 120Hz, everything's accepted here on the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. And specifically, if you have a PS5 or PS5 Pro, Sony is saying this monitor is meant for it. I'm not sure if this game actually runs at 120Hz, but the monitor can accept it. And even in SDR mode, it looks pretty good. I would say it's very comparable to HDR. You can go either way. SDR if you need it, or that HDR power, which does look a lot brighter, though a little bit washed. Here with Mortal Kombat 1, the highlights are crazy, brighter than the wOLED I've tested. But when I look at this picture, it just doesn't look clear. I could already tell, just comparing it to the Xiaomi. The Xiaomi doesn't get that bright, but it's miles clearer. The panel is way faster, and I would even say the coding is better. And if it's the same, Sony is doing something wrong. Again guys, I've tested 2 of these monitors, hence the delay of the review. I always want to get you that information as fast as possible, but I wanted to make sure 100%. Call of Duty looks colorful, looks pinpoint in a sense, because these are fast-moving images. But if you compare it to another monitor, in OLED, another lower-priced mini LED, the differences come out really clear. This is the blurriest monitor that I have ever reviewed. And that kind of sucks, you guys. I was really having high hopes for this monitor. I mean, it's Sony. Sony always makes magic, you get what I'm saying. But Sony is going to need to step up their game, either through a software update or lower the price to $599 or below. Because there's just so much competition out there. wOLED and QD OLED can be had for $599, $699. That is crazy. And right away, those monitors are better than this. In totality, with the funness, performance, media content viewing, I mean, this is a cool monitor, but I just can't recommend it when there's so many more options that are lower in price and offer way more value. And again, a lot more clearer. It's unfortunate that I have to make this kind of review. I've never done that. When you compare it to another monitor, this is the blurriest I've ever tested. And that's saying something. So if I had to rate this, which I don't even want to rate it, it doesn't even deserve a rating. But if I had to rate this monitor, you guys, I would give it 1 star. And that star is for the overall body design and that okay picture and that signal acceptance, which is very important. But that's it. The blotches are just disgusting. For every 1, there's 4 around it, but they're big. You saw by the brightness test. It's unacceptable. The UFO test showed a blurry picture. So I don't know if that's the IPS technology Sony is using, or if it's the matte coating, or a combination of the two with some kind of haze around it. No, there were no plastic protective screen on this monitor. And again, I've tried 2. It's very blurry, not good looking for any game or media content. I mean, not for me personally. If you're coming from a higher end monitor, or even a lower end, that does it right. This does it very bad. The sound is non-existent. They say it's improved, but I wouldn't mess with that. And those dark corners, guys, it's annoying. It was really hard to tailor the picture to the way I like it, and just comparing it to the wOLED or Curry GN10. You might like what you see here on these pictures, but if you're really picky, stay away from this monitor. But if you still get this, just make sure you're truly happy with the picture quality. If you have another monitor laying around, just test it side by side. As I've said before, only if you come from a higher end monitor or higher technologically advanced monitor, you will see all the issues I've noted today. Just wanted to bring you this review to help you make that awesome buying decision. Skip this monitor or wait for a major sale. This does not deserve to be anywhere near $799. But what are you gonna do? That's Sony tax. So friends, if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button so more people can see it, to help them not make the mistake of getting this. But you always know, some will. Consider subscribing if you want more videos just like this one. It's time to tell the truth on these monitors. They need to either step up their game or get out of the kitchen. Thanks for watching, friends. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys next time.